It's just, and I've never ever felt comfortable
Mayor Pro Tem, are we ready?
working with
Call the
them.
roll.
Call the roll.
We worked a number of cases.
Scott? Capron?
Here.
Greckin?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Raddick?
Okay.
Okay. Budget wrap up.
Today we start going through everything we've got. Just to update you with the technical changes that are in our packet. Those, when you motion to approve them, the effect on our property tax levy will be a decrease of 5 cents, which will show a $4.62 decrease to the typical residents per 100,000 worth of value. So we've gone from $2 decrease to a little over 4.5. Those are the technical changes, which are the things that we've had as we've been going through that we've put back into making improvements to the book.
Okay, so tell me that again one more time. We're dropping from, or we're going up from 2 to 4.5?
Right. Our levy was at $16.11.
Yes.
And now it's going to $16.06.
Okay, got it, thank you.
And the typical residents be $4.62 per 100,000.
How much?
$4.62 per $100,000 of value. And that's just with the technical changes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And how we usually do these packets, just for refresher, is we just start with item number 2. If you don't have any questions, because a lot of times we had questions that we've answered since the public hearings that we had for capital operating, we just read the heading, and if there's nothing we need to discuss, we just go to the next one. Anytime you want to have a vote, you just mention that we'd like to have this voted on. Otherwise, we just move unless somebody wants to vote.
Okay.
Only vote we we have 2 things that we will need voted on. Will be
The
approving
motion's on the
to,
end.
besides that, technical changes we'll need, and then motion to us to take and incorporate all the changes into the budget and bring it back for presentation.
What I'd suggest, though, since the mayor and Councilmember Raddick aren't here, if there's something we know specifically they asked for, maybe defer that and come back when they're here.
Yes, I
So
agree.
we don't want to get too far ahead.
No,
Right.
I agree.
So the technical changes which start on page 4, we'll go through those as well.
We will go through those as
Items
we get to the very
35.
back.
Yeah, items 35 through
Yes, items 35 through 58.
56, because 57 and 58 are your 2 motions that you
Yes.
talked about.
If you want, we can do the technical changes now because those are kind of like non-items. So
Why don't we, since the mayor's not here, and I can tell you're getting impatient with my trying to stall till the mayor gets here, but
And can I ask,
yes.
with respect to the technical changes, the departments that are involved with each specific change, they already know it and there's no?
yes,
Okay,
Okay, so
these are items. And the first item, okay.
please.
Okay, the first item, basically what we're doing is taking and using fund balance and parking instead of issuing capital debt for it. So that just won't affect the parking fund rates. It will just use a little bit of fund balance and it will lower our debt capacity.
That's good.
The next item, residential infill, this is a combining of 2 projects, plus reducing the amount of asking. It's taking the citywide housing rehab and residential infill, putting the 2 project sheets together. It makes it easier to manage. The Community Development Department presented this. Jeff Hansen actually drafted the sheet that you saw is in your packet as what will now be substituted in.
a decrease of $50,000. Yep.
Yes, which has about a $7,000 effect on the 17 budget. So that was part of that lowering that I talked about.
Okay.
The West 7th reconstruction, this one we actually did after the books were put together, but before we started hearings, we talked about during the hearing. I'm just taking balances to help us with our property taxes, and we're shifting the out years some additional debt. Number 38, annual EFAB remodeling and repair. They went out to bid on the sidewalk repairs at the Tyson Center where we've had some problems with some settling, and it came in additional dollars needed. They can't afford it with their projects in their balance, so we just added additional debt for this because it's a
The
necessary
life
item.
safety
Yeah,
issue
it
needs to be
yeah,
repaired.
has to be done, I agree.
Yes. So that's gonna cost $24,500 of additional dollars in the budget, but it's a necessity.
On top of the 175?
That's what the effect in the 17 budget
Okay,
is.
okay.
The next one is Cone Park. They received money from MERD that we did not have when we put the original book together. This is just adding it into the book. It has no effect on what our side of the project was because it was contributions with the trails. Number 40 is the police fire radio equipment replacement. The 911 board met and gave us some money in FY18 to use for this project. It doesn't affect the 17 budget, but it will change how the sheet looks because the funding source is in FY18. Page 5 of the packet, item 41, the Bridgeport West downstream. We looked at the sheet and we are going to take and replace GEO debt that was abated by Donner tax increment. Still haven't abated by the increment, but switched to state revolving loan money. So the effect on the operating budget is nil, it's just the revenue sources are switching around.
Okay.
Annual school infrastructure, this is the Bryant School site, which is item number 42. We are taking and splitting the debt that we're borrowing into 2 years because the school has agreed that we could pay our share of that project over 2 years. That will reduce the 17 budget by $91,000. The Zenith backwash blower addition filter replacement. This one, during the budget process, we talked about the utilities department came up with a solution. Brad came and said that he could do it with his operating budget. We got the costs down, so we were able to delete the project. The water fund obviously doesn't have effect on property taxes, but it's still a good item. The Starcom Motorola Life Cycle Planning, item number 44. We were reducing the bonds because of the pricing, and it's a $9,726 savings in the 17 budget. Miracle Field came to the last council meeting, I believe, or was it 2 meetings ago, and asked for $60,000.
Yeah.
And it was the consensus, we believe, of the council to add this in. So now we will have a Miracle Field CIP sheet with $60,000 contribution.
Does that
I
require,
would add, though, they still would need to come back with a formal request, and then that be formally approved by council, but we want to have it budgeted for when
Okay.
that happens.
And I thought that they were going to split it up in 2 years. Is that true?
We want to have it in the year because if it's the splash pad, what we're contributing, it will be done in the first year, and they have had a habit of wanting us to give them their money up front, and I just want to be prepared.
yep, I'm fine with that.
And that will cost the 17 budget $8,400. Item 46, this one is adjust paratransit, balance revenue and expense, and decrease the FTA budget for fuel. This is I did not write down my tax savings on this.
$45,817 is what the tax saving would be for the transit department.
Item 47 is taking our fuel prices down throughout the city. That one was $117,456 in debt service. The general property tax non-debt service is $10,830, and sewer fund would save $14,398, water $18,488. Back to my place. Item 48, this was a recent agenda item. We did not have it budgeted because at the time we didn't know about it, so now it's adding it into the budget. It's the $100,000 payment to the Siouxland Chamber Foundation, or Siouxland Initiative for Economic Development at the airport. Item 49
That's
is another recent
regular
item
kind of
on the
thing.
council agenda that has been approved. It's the workforce development position, $42,000. Both 48 and 49 are being paid for with sales tax economic development funds.
Would this be every year?
The 42,000 is 2-year agreement.
A 2-year commitment, yes.
Right.
And the item 48, the 100,000 was a 2-year commitment too. But it's 100,000 per year, and I'm only doing the current, the
Right.
17-year. Item number 50, during the administrative services budget, they gave us $20,000 in electrical reductions that they found since we put the book together. So that's just recognizing that savings, and that isn't dollar for dollar because it's general fund. 51 is decreased meters and valves, which also was given up during the administrative services budget hearing for $23,000. That one will be split right in half between water and sewer because that's how their budget's funded. Item 52, $19,000 rebate revenue from finance. That is off of our credit card because our volume's going up. We're receiving more money back from Wells Fargo, and that will be dollar for dollar general fund. Item 53, add $56,145 to debt service for fund balance. This is adding appropriation so that I can do refunding. We'll have over the period of the bonds that we're issuing, over $350,000 worth of savings. So we spend a little bit up front, but we'll save it in future budgets. This is a good thing we're doing. We actually have added one more issue. We've added all of the 17 debt we issued and the 16. Number 54 is with the new airline coming in. We have increased the PFC revenue by $50,000 and the airport parking revenue by $40,000.
Okay. Donna, back on item 47 on the fuel prices.
Yes, sir.
Is that the same item where the mayor had mentioned something about saving the,
That's in the current year, and then
difference?
if the prices are right now I've got lower prices, but if we have even more savings as we're going the year, we'll set that money aside and keep it reserved for future budgets.
okay, thank you.
Does that go in the general fund?
I'm sorry, what?
Will that go in the general fund, or it's gonna be just a separate?
We'll just keep it aside so that we know it's there, so that we can report what the effect of having that money in balances was able to help that year's budget for.
Okay.
Item 55 on page 6, increase airport professional services by $25,000. This was an item that came out of budget discussions where we'll have a study for business property around the airport. This will be funded with the savings that we just talked about coming in from the additional airline. And item number 56 is adding downtown partners budget. They budget $2.25 per their value. And during our budget process, they come to us and give us what that is because we collect it through the county levying of taxes, and then we write them a check every month for 1/12 of their property tax askings.
Okay,
And so those are the improvement, those are the
Technical
technical
changes.
changes.
any questions from council?
No.
Does anybody have any comments or questions on technical changes, items 35 through 56? Pages 4, 5, and 6? I guess not.
Okay, do we want to wait to vote for the other council members, or do we want?
Provided they're coming.
Yeah, if they don't come, we're just gonna pass it off.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and start then, or?
Yeah, I just texted the mayor, haven't heard back, so
You
I'm
haven't?
assuming he's on his way.
Why don't we go to the reports and keep, which would be on items number 17 and 18.
Okay,
That way we can just talk about the reports. I know that we've got, on page 20 of the packet is the report for blight removal revenue. And this revenue is generated when we tear down a house or take care of a blight area. We incur costs, and then we will bill the property owner for the work that we've done. The first year, we carry it on our accounts receivable, and then before May of that year, we then go through council action and assess the property. So they have a certain period of time where they can come in and not pay it with interest. But once it goes to assessment, then there is an interest being added. So that's what the report is on page 20. It's for blight removal. So you can see the columns we've got before assessment and after.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good too, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
We've about
we're
passed
just about
everything,
wrapped
Mayor.
up, Mayor.
We're doing all the.
We did all the technical change. No, we did all the, no, hear me out. We didn't do anything without you. Technical changes on that
Talking
sheet that you
reports.
have there.
Hey, they're feeling pretty good out there, aren't you
On
guys?
page, on page 4, we did the technical.
Breathe again, John, because I'm here now. You're not getting there.
We did the technical changes on pages 4, 5, and 6, the items 35 through 56. Pages 4, 5, and 6 on items 35 through 56. The two motions that we'll need when we're all done with the wrap-up would be at items 57 and 58, and there's no motion now on the floor. We just finished the technical changes, and Donna is now walking us through the reports, item 17 and item 18 on page 2. Did you have anything on the technical changes that you saw?
You already went through item
No, we
3?
did not do any of those.
No, we
Where's
haven't
Keith
done any
at,
of
by the
those.
way?
We have not heard.
Just trying to keep my job as mayor pro tem.
Don't want to get fired, that's not a good
No.
deal.
He did ask about, Dan asked about acting pay though, so I don't know.
Yeah. You cops know all about that.
Sorry, I brought that one up.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be here.
So did you do number 1?
No.
We did
No.
roll call.
Oh, we did roll call, yes.
Okay.
We are official and the mics are live.
And we're on the reports on items 17 and 18.
I'm gonna let my book in the car. I might need your
So that's on 20?
Any other packet?
The first
Page,
one was
yeah, page 20.
packet. I got plenty of packets, but I may need your book before.
Oh, you, go ahead. Okay. And
We're on page 20 is the item 17, which is one of the two reports, is on page 20.
on page 20, the report for the blight removal, the revenue we're collecting, I was just explaining the difference of what was going to assessment and what was
Oh, okay.
just. And see if there was any questions. We got Daryl here if anybody had any questions on the process.
Explain this to me. The purpose of So how much have you collected?
We have collected $426,000 since 2009, and that goes back into the project.
But yeah, we continue to bond the full amount, right?
And some more sometimes, depending on the projects. We've done quite a bit of large demolitions that have taken the fund balance down.
Okay.
And then those go to the special assessment, and unfortunately, a lot of those don't get paid or they get waived.
Just out of curiosity, what would that figure be, the total be if it was all paid back? Does Daryl know?
Daryl's gonna wing it.
That's okay.
Went back several years ago before we started having some of these large houses after these foreclosures that took place, and we had the enormous amount of demolitions that were taking $150,000 in each CIP year to $400,000 each year. And for the most part, each year that they were used up. Some of the years they carried over because we had larger projects, like, for instance, the Boys and Girls Home at 28th Street. That was a very large project that took 3 years' worth of extras from the CIP budget collectively to be able to have that money to be able to do that demolition. So I guess if I had to throw a number out there, I'd say we were probably looking at
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
probably a little over 2 million over all those years.
Thank you.
2012 was pre-DB, by the way, that's why there's nothing in it.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next one is on page 21. It is an memo on annual alley construction, reconstruction. And we have Rick Mock, the acting public works director, I believe, is here. Do you have any questions?
When are we gonna figure out how to do an assessment, Mr. Mock?
We are working on that process with finance and legal, and as soon as we have it down path, we will be addressing those assessment requests that we have, or those payment requests that we have.
Don't tell me we're gonna have to hire John Myers and Jim Abshire as consultants to get this job done.
It is an option.
I think we can wing it.
What's the cost of doing a new alley? Yeah, yeah, depends how long it is, yes.
Depends on what storm sewer is gonna be in it.
Yeah, that's right. It depends on the length and what's going to be needed. I'd have to look in the CIP sheet to actually look what we've got budgeted. And there, I think it's 170,000.
I was gonna say,
I
without-
see
I
100.
bet you it's 120 with paving, so I bet it'll be 170, right?
It'll be up in that range. It really depends on what is needed and what's out there. Like on this one on South St. Aubin, we've got some drainage issues that we've got to deal with. So more than just going in and paving, we have to do some grading and potentially some drainage structures themselves.
Well, I asked because the proposed budget for 17 says $100,000, and I was wondering if that was enough, but,
You're gonna assess some of it.
oh, okay, okay.
You may have to bond, you may have to borrow, depending, because people have the option to pay or not to pay. If they don't pay, they pay interest
Yeah.
that you'll establish, which means some of them will pay it quicker and
Typically over 10 years.
Yes. When it's large dollar items, we try to do it over a longer period of time. Would
Thank you.
But we don't need
I
to,
don't know if you,
we won't need to take any actions on it.
unless you want to take action on something on that, but we have a lot of people here for the box culvert. I'm so sorry.
you were there.
No, we haven't started it, but I was just telling
What's
you.
that?
a lot of people here.
Oh, so I don't care. You want to go to that?
It's up to you if you want to.
That's fine. I
You
don't-
want to go ahead and move South St. Aubin up because we have a lot of people here to,
Sure.
okay.
What page is that on?
It's page 2. And it's in the CIP book on page 356.
Yeah.
We're going to move ahead to item 12, which is project 549020, the box culvert on South St. Aubin Street to Lincoln Way. Mr. Manager, do you want to give an update from our meeting on Tuesday?
Sure.
And the report's on page 14.
And page 14 is a report.
And I may have Glenn Ellis come up as needed too. Following the CIP hearing, where we were given some direction to go, meet with the neighbors and determine some direction to go. I challenged engineering, we had a staff meeting and challenged engineering to go out and see what other alternatives there were to the $2.5 million project. Glenn, in conjunction with an engineering consultant firm, Howard R. Green, who had walked the, I call it the creek, the ravine before, developed a grid of proposals all the way from the full culvert that was originally anticipated, the options. Based on that, staff's recommendation was for more or less a rechannelization of the existing stream and riprap and other things. I don't have the sheet with me that says what it.
Page 14 should have
14.
the updates on it.
What the official term for it is. It is natural channel design. This past after that, we met with, I was determined at that time that it'd be appropriate to have a meeting with the residents of that area. So this past Tuesday night, we met with the residents, went through the various options and pointed them to the recommendation that we would be making to the council, that being the natural channel. The estimated cost is about $850,000. I will say the residents had a few concerns that what if that doesn't work? And our commitment to them was, as we get into the engineering process, we will keep them informed of what is going on, but two, if at any point we think that we're just throwing money away and it's not a viable option, we will pull back and reconsider more drastic alternatives to solve that problem. We also identified a funding source. We have SRF rebate money, that is money that's returned to us for water quality, that we can use for water quality projects. We've identified funding it through that source. We have it budgeted right now for Perry Creek improvements that are actually outside the city limits. So we would take some of that money and move it to the ravine behind these people's property. There was some discussion about whether there should be some financial contribution on their part. I believe their concerns, and they can certainly come and address it, is they will have additional financial considerations beyond just the rechannelization because they've got erosion and other issues that could cost them quite a bit of money just to reestablish their yards that they've lost and other things. With that, I guess, I know Denny would like to speak, and I will open it up for questions and comments.
Before you speak, I want to, tell me what you said about the 850,000 that could be used for Perry Creek, but what did you say?
It's I call it rebate money from our state revolving loan funds that we've gone out and borrowed money for the wastewater treatment plant, I-29, sewer projects. The state, with their approval, will let you use those for water quality projects. As an example, the Ravine Park project along Lincoln Way is being funded with that. We would propose using those funds more or less as an extension of what we're doing on Ravine Park up into this neighborhood. We would have to get approval by IDNR to use this money in this way, but we think it's logical because they've already allowed us to use it for Ravine Park.
Okay,
Basically,
what did you say about Perry Creek being outside the city or something?
We originally plugged all the money, this rebate money, to help with some Perry Creek flood control, but in reality, it's spending money outside of our city limits and in Plymouth County to allow for water to be diverted.
Okay, so the 850,000, how much on top of that is coming out of this other fund?
No, that would all come from,
That's the
that
850?
whole 850 would come from this
There?
fund, yes.
Okay.
And basically what we're doing is we pay Iowa Finance Authority for these loans that we have. And what they do is they lower the interest rate on it, and that savings goes to these projects. It's not available to lower it if we aren't using the money. We're going to pay the money regardless. It's just we get the double whammy of having another project done with the same dollars.
One more question for you. Okay, and then the governor's proposed this water quality as part of the school
Yes.
tax issue, which the Metro Coalition is not too pleased. I'm the only mayor that came out in support of it, but life goes on. Will that be money that we can use in this type of deal?
I believe we could use it for water. I'm not sure they fully defined the water quality issues. I think in large part it would go towards clean water and wastewater issues, but it could possibly stretch to stormwater. I don't think they promulgated the rules yet, but anything that we would get back through that
But
would
it has to
definitely
be, it has
offset
to be
what.
clean water because so much of it's going to go to source, meaning farmers.
Yes.
Okay, all right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Dennis Bullock, 2816 Mulberry Court. I'd like to begin by saying that as a spokesman for the neighborhood, I was elected by default. So let me say that first. I've lived on Mulberry Court that we're going to get some assistance with our problem. Councilman Moore has been very supportive, as has Bob and his staff. So I'd like to go on the record that we're very happy that we have an ear and we have some people that are trying to help us literally save our homes. Mine's awfully close to the ravine, so I am in particular thankful. So what was brought up to us in these plans that Bob and his staff outlined was that if we went, and we're pretty much in general consensus in the neighborhood, that if we can move forward faster, we'd like to see if that route works because we're running out of time. And if we end up in a CIP that's a couple years down the road, I think a few of us are going to be in some really big trouble, more trouble than we're in right now. So
It won't be a problem. Your brother will go slow on red tagging your house.
yeah, I appreciate that. That's because he's living in half the rental that I own. So anyway, one thing that we're a little concerned about when we gathered here in the back on page 14. After you get done with the options, it says in here that any additional cost over $850,000 would be the responsibility of the property owners. I'm not sure we quite understood that that was the case when we met earlier in the week.
That alludes to we talked a lot about whether there'd be a financial contribution. We won't do anything without telling you where we're at. It will strain our budget to go much beyond the 850,000. Our goal is to bring it in at or under that amount. But if that gets to where if it starts to look like it's going to cost more than the benefit, we will slow down and look at the other alternatives first.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. Some of the other neighbors here may want to speak, so I'll sit down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I do want to add, and I thank Denny for bringing the group together is we were pretty blunt about if they want to get this done quickly, we can't have a lot of obstacles in our way towards getting it done. And the group that was here on Tuesday was pretty committed to providing any easements that are needed at no charge, allowing access points, and just in general cooperating to the extent they could that we could start this in the spring and work on it during the summer, towards the end of the summer, and get it completed so that it's over with. And so I appreciate that. Nobody came in and said, well, I want to sell my easement, or, you know, I expect something for it. They just want to get it fixed, and we appreciate that because it makes it easier for us.
Is that slope on the bank, Lynn, gonna allow you to rip wrap it when you get done?
We will have to reestablish some of those slopes so that we can rip wrap it. There'll be, I mean, what we're doing on Ravine, we've got some vertical slopes. We're actually moving the center of the creek away from those banks and creating an artificial bank and stabilizing it so that the erosion doesn't occur continuously. So we would look at those same methods. We would put the rock riprap along. We would model it to see where the critical areas are and look at the soil types as well to make sure that we won't have continued erosion after we're done.
And Mayor, when you look at the pictures, this natural channel design, at least in my personal opinion, is much better than the other options, because it really, it's just a natural lay of the land, and it looks really nice on some of the photos that you've had in other places. And, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so bad and 10 being the worst, maybe I'm a little low on this, but from being out there and having what you've described in your yards, you know, we're about 8.5, 9.0, close to 10. Because a couple of the yards are just really, you can't get rid of the water in the yards. They're spongy and they're not drying out. And it's a very serious problem. So I hope that we have the mayor's and council's support for this item. Please.
I'll see how you do on other things. Night's over here. All right, any of the other neighbors want to speak?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We will need a vote on this item to change out what's
Yeah,
in the CIP.
you're gonna have a list of everything we're gonna vote. We can go one at a time when we get all done, or?
It's up to you
I think we're
guys.
to the
Well, I
one
want to
that's-
wait, I know, but I want to wait till Keith comes before we vote on anything, just out of fairness to him, if he is getting here. Just-
Okay.
If he isn't, then as long as you got a list, we'll go one at a time when we
will-
get done. And
Okay, then we'll just go in
I know
order
he
then.
wants to be here for the Arts Center, and John Malloy, and all those other people.
Okay, let's go then to
We're
item,
gonna take the vote later then.
Yeah.
Correct?
I will circle and come back.
I don't think
Gonna
they
vote
have
on
to.
it here any further, do we? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2 on page 1 of our agenda is the discussion of the Art Center Capital Project 339003. This is a discussion about the cash balance we currently have and whether we want to structure this different and use the balance instead of borrowing.
Okay, we still have not been able to 17 or late 2017. I would like to keep the 50,000 in there that we have for that year, but so that we can apply it to the project if it becomes viable early in 2017.
Okay, but when, I know you can't establish it, but when do you think you would be starting it?
Well, I
I
think
mean, what's your best guess?
in
'Cause I thought you were starting it a year ago.
in 2017.
You're gonna start your project.
I think we'll be ready to start construction in 2017. We're getting close to meeting our challenge grant, and that'll put us at a significant amount to,
Yes.
Okay, but that doesn't necessarily hurt you, because you're probably not gonna start and you're gonna have money, so you're not gonna start the project until the spring of 2017, and that'll be your nickel, a lot of it.
yeah.
So the worst case is, if we even move it, it just means you could still use your balances is what I'm saying, Al, and then it might mean we have to do 251,018 because you're not gonna spend much money until July of 17, which is 17-18 budget, right?
Right, so the motion would basically be take the borrowing out of 17 and move it to 18.
And that's fine.
Okay, okay, we're gonna put that as, okay.
Okay, thank you.
At 50,000 then,
Yeah.
we'll go into,
The 17,
It just
18?
basically goes 1 year out is all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item number 3 is a discussion on the Sioux City Comprehensive Plan update, project 879001, CIP page number 117.
it's gonna be okay.
No, it's, I said when we voted for that zoning deal, that this is just the hook, that we would be reeled in later, and now we're starting to reel it in.
I think we near 10,000 county.
Jeff Hansen, Community Development Operations Manager. We've had this project in for a few years. We feel it's the right time now with the new zoning ordinance to update our comp plan. It's over 10 years old. It was done in 2005. As part of our comp plan, it does need to be consistent with our zoning ordinance, and now with our new zoning ordinance and our new maps and our new district, it's no longer consistent. And so we would propose keeping this funding in there. We did spread it out over 2 years to try to help with the budget, knowing that the project's about 18 months long.
This costs more than the zoning ordinance.
It'll be about, we're estimating it to be about the same. The zoning ordinance was just short of
And the
300.
zoning ordinance is much more labor intense than a comprehensive plan is.
I think the comprehensive plan will have quite a few more public meetings that need to be held to gather some public input. But
Why?
as far as the legal side of it, yeah, I agree. The zoning ordinance was more detailed as a comp plan.
They had lots of meetings on,
Could it have been done at the same time, Jeff, the same?
no, because you didn't budget it.
We didn't have it budgeted, but also I'm not sure as far as timing with all the meetings and commission approvals and council approvals, if it would have been a smart idea to do it at the same time.
Well, I'm sure it's going to pass, but I would certainly like to
We'll bring it back for
bring it back for a vote. I just,
Do you think it should be delayed another year or two, or?
well, if I thought when it all got done for $300,000 that it would show great significant difference in what our comprehensive plan today is, I'd be a lot more supportive. But we have a very good comprehensive plan, and the boundaries of the city has not grown in that time frame. So it's not like there's this great big deal. We've got all this land that's coming into the city, and we got to figure out what it is. And matching it to a zoning this thing should not cost as much as it costs to do the zoning. This is a number that's unbelievable. That's my problem. It's just costs more than the zoning, and that and housing deals and all that sort of stuff has to be much more labor intense than what they're going to do here. I'm guessing it's the same guy.
No, we'd go out for proposals on this.
I'm guessing it'll be the same guy.
I'm sure he'll submit a proposal.
And I, kind of along the same lines, I hesitate to say this, but the question I wrote myself when I reviewed this was, the last comprehensive plan was in 2005, and I understand the argument, we need an update to ensure Sioux City grows and develops in an appropriate and efficient manner. But what will that look like after this plan that we're not able to do right now?
There's 3 items that we would like included in the new comp plan that were not included in the 2005 plan. That is a transportation plan, a housing plan, and a historic preservation plan. And we've been working with the Historic Preservation Commission on scoping out what that would look like. But we feel that those 3 items are important to include in a comp plan, because right now, none of those items are addressed anywhere.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you put bids out for the,
We haven't yet, we will upon approval of the funding. Any of those contracts then would have to come back here for council approval.
But we've had this in the budget for some time now. So
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I'm guessing it's been in there
It's been
for,
there. No, it was in
300,000's been
last
in there?
year's book.
300,000's been in there, or?
Yes.
it was
600,000?
300 in 1 year for quite a few years, and then just in the last 2 years, we split it out over 2 years.
So if we approve it, then it'd be another 300,000, we'll split it for 2 years, is that what you're saying?
If you approve to keep it in the book is what the motion will be.
Okay,
it's been in, but we've never approved it.
okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Item number 4 is Riverside Boulevard Military Road District Plan, Project 879019, page 124 in the CIP. The discussion is about the funding and the timing of the project.
I'm sure we're not gonna move it, but, we can find $40,000 right away for the downtown, which is, I'm supportive of. But we continue to have in these outlying commercial districts, we had meetings out in Leeds and we told them we're gonna do these sort of things. We said, it's important to us to see you rebuild the downtown core of Leeds. But yet, where do they end up? Down the road, down the road, down the road. We have no problem in this community spending lots and lots of money in the downtown. And I, quite frankly, am a little tired that the corridors in the commercial areas and the older parts of the neighborhood aren't a higher priority for staff and councils. It's been that way for way too long. And I know you don't have the money to move it up, but it's bothersome to me that we just don't seem to make it a priority around here. But boy, the downtown wants it, and we do it. So that's fine.
I
Now
would
I've got
agree
off
with the
my
mayor.
I got off my soapbox. Now we can move on.
No, I would agree with the mayor on that, but Donna, so how would we move it up?
You can move it up. The thing is, do recognize that, it's general obligation debt, so.
But if you put 50,000 a year, I mean, we can't find $100,000.
Well, we've got, with what we've got with the technical, there's some movement here if we
You put
wanted to.
$50,000 a year and
Yeah.
and did some streetscaping even.
We have room because, our goal in this budget was to come in with the same levy rate. And now we've got, 5 cents there to play with. So if you wanted to.
Well, bring the lead, the Floyd Boulevard, the Riverside, and the Morningside one. I think they're all three.
4, 5, and 6 are all are those 3 items. If you want to come
put
back for a vote.
We'll put a motion on and how much money at that time. Then
Okay, we'll bring those 3 back.
could pass or fail, I don't care.
Downtown partner said at our joint meeting the other day, let's make it look pretty. It's really what it takes. If we have pride in our community, we need to help them where we can. And I agree, I think the mayor's right. It shouldn't be just downtown.
Okay. So we'll bring back 4, 5, and 6. Item number 7 is, we're going to put 2 projects together that we want to talk about. It is the annual swimming pool maintenance and the aquatic comprehensive plan. Both these projects are on page 247 and 254. But on page 9 is a report, and then page 10 is actually a summary of all of the changes with the proposed CIP and what the pool plan kind of is. So page 10 in your packet is basically where you want to focus. And just to recap it, it basically runs all of the pools for the FY17 year. We design a splash pad for Leeds and for Cook, and we build with money in 18 so that we'll be open for the swimming season in 18 with splash pads at Cook and Leeds. Those 2 pools will close. Then in 19, we start designing Lewis and Leaf. And then the year after, we would construct splash pads. Leif Erikson Pool would be run until it fails. And we would have to decide what we want to do with Lewis Pool. But I know we've made a commitment to keep Leaf running.
There'll still be some money to put into Leaf
Yes, the
till
cap,
it
yes.
quits. I mean,
Yes,
and it's going to be a balancing act on that.
right, and that's what the CIP sheet shows. And then 22 is not in our book, but in FY '22, we're proposing $700,000 that would be used then to refurbish Riverside, because we would be building an aquatic center if we can get the funding together in '21. So if you want to review page 10, this kind of takes all the recommendations from the pool committee and the consultant that did the pools and puts it into a CIP format for you to vote on. And we have Matt here to discuss any further.
Well, the part that I don't recall is, and according to Matt's memo here, we're talking about closing, your memo's talking about closing Leaf in 2018 and building a splash pad.
No, the money for the splash pad would just be there just in case it fails.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
we
this-
wouldn't be doing anything with Leaf until we're to the point it's not operable again.
Okay,
anymore.
well, that doesn't say that. It just says anticipated funding is
I'm glad you
provided
asked
for
that.
the pool to be demolished after the 18th season, and then Lewis, it says 19th season. And what worried me about that, because if we get to the point where we are able to plan for an aquatic center, conceivably, on that plan, we could have 4 to 5 pools closed and still only have one operating for a couple of years before an aquatic center gets opened.
We're just,
But if I agree, if we're gonna let her go, and I don't see Stan, but
he's not here tonight.
he's probably got the best guess of anybody on how long it'll last. And the last time I asked him, it was kind of like, you just really don't know.
Right.
But I would hope we would consider leaving Leaf open as long as we can.
And that's the plan, but we got to
Okay.
have money here just in case it would fail. And
Okay.
we'd be able to put something back
that's-
there. And one thing we're going to do every spring and every fall is survey the corners of the pool at Leaf and see how much it's actually settling.
Okay.
So that'll give us a little better idea on the lifespan of that pool.
But then my next question would be, if we are going to close Cook and Leeds, how much of the proposed CIP for 17 for those 2 pools
If you look
Done.
on the.
actually you're going to save
All the
that-
maintenance items will be completely gone out of the CIP and replaced with demo and design for splash pads.
If you
Okay.
look at the very bottom of page 10,
Yes,
we went from the current budget of 395,000 to doing the design and the demo of the 2 pools to 534,500. So we only need an additional 139,500 because the maintenance items on those pools are being taken out.
okay, and by my count, those 2 pools amount to $106,000, so I'm assuming then that the 395 is really 289? And then that gets included with,
Right. So basically what I
additional
was trying to
funding
do
to
is get the totals so you could see it flowing.
okay,
And we would move forward with maintenance item at Riverside, Leaf, and Lewis. Especially with Lewis, the aquatic center right now in this amended CIP is programmed.
So on Cook, are you done, Pete?
I'm done.
Okay. So on Cook and Leeds, those won't be demolished until, I mean, we'll definitely have splash pads.
Yeah, they'd be
To
demolished
replace-
right after the pool season. We'd go right into design, and then when the CIP is approved, the following year, we'd move that money up and construct those splash pads right away in the spring and have them so they're operating by the summer.
And with Leeds, it still remains to be determined.
We're going to do public
The lo-
input with the neighborhood
the
to determine
location.
where the splash pad will be located
Okay.
within the neighborhood.
Any idea how long it takes to build a splash pad?
3 months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever it would take, we would make sure that the money would be available, even if we have to let them borrow ahead, so that there would be a aquatic feature in those parks before the season.
Okay.
As soon as the CIP is approved, we would move forward with all those plans.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's good.
We'll bring this back to vote.
I think we can go ahead and go start back because Keith's not gonna come, so
Okay,
we could probably go and then we'll be done when we're done. How's that sound?
that sounds great. Let's go back to item number 2. I would like to entertain a motion from someone to take the fund balance that is currently in project 339003 Art Center Capital Projects and reduce the borrowing and move it to FY18.
I'll move it.
Second.
Capron,
Aye.
Greckin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Ready, Scott,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
Item number 3, does someone want to make a motion on removing the capital improvement money for the comprehensive plan, project 879001?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
This is to remove it?
This
This
would
would
be
remove the.
would be
reduce the
to
funding.
remove the funding.
Greckin,
No.
Moore,
No?
Raddick, Scott,
No. I mean, yes, yes.
Capron,
No.
motion fails 1-3.
Do we want to move items 4, 5, and 6 with a dollar amount together, or do we want to do it each separately?
Separately.
Okay. Item number 4 is Riverside Boulevard Military Road District Plan, project 879019. I would like someone to give me a motion with a dollar amount to put into FY17.
I want to know when you're doing the street out there first. And I'll be glad to make a motion. When are you doing the street?
Currently planned for fiscal year 18. We're going to do that in conjunction with the bridge.
You what?
We're going to do it in conjunction with the bridge, the Military Road Bridge over the
Okay.
Big Sioux.
So that's 18, right?
Yes.
I would move 50,000 into 18. And the reason I say that is I want, if you're gonna do a street, do something nice when you're doing it. And then I would move another 50,000 into 19. We can work on the facade program when we see how we're doing next year, but at least have that in there so that you are programming that work. Why have 2 contracts? Right? I mean, why not put it under one contract?
Talking about the streetscaping
Yeah.
improvements. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we can do it all under the one.
And that probably can be done over, it's probably, by the time you get done, it'll be over 2 fiscal years, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant project.
So I would move that.
Then do you want to, in FY20, do you want that up to be 100 then?
I'd leave it at 200 just because you're probably gonna move some up in 19 of that money to actually be for facades, because you don't necessarily want them, you know what I mean, till they know what till they know what their buildings are gonna be when we're done.
Well, and we'll have a couple CIPs in the process of
Right.
this.
I'll second it.
Okay. Ready for vote or discussion?
Kind of what is the motion again?
Motion is to move $50,000, to add $50,000 in FY18 and 19.
Moore,
Aye.
Raddick, Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Greckin,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
The next item 5, Leeds Quarter Plan on page 126. I could entertain a motion if someone so desires to put some funding in FY17 or 18.
I would move 50 and 17 and 50 and 18 on the facade improvement program, just to see if we could get somebody out there. We promised those people when we met that we would put money in there, and I think we should show our commitment to do that.
I'll second it.
Raddick, Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Greckin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
Item number 6, Morningside Corridor, Peters Park CIP. This is something that is not in the book. It is a new one. we do have a report on page 7. I would entertain a motion from someone on funding in the 17 budget.
So 2020. You know, the merchants up there do a lot of their own streetscaping and that. They give me the opportunity to write them a check, which I'm glad to do. I would move 50,000 of that 20 money into 18 and 19, so it doesn't have any effect on this year's budget. So I'd move 1850 and 1950.
Second.
Scott?
Aye.
Capron?
Aye.
Gretchen?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Raddick? Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, next one is the annual swimming pool maintenance aquatic comprehensive plan. And I would ask for a motion that would adopt the changes that are on that page 10 of the reports, which is basically adopting the pool study.
I'll move it.
Second.
The only question I have is it doesn't necessarily mean that the splash pad will be put where the Leeds pool was. You're going to have neighborhood meetings for that, correct? Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Capron?
Aye.
Gretchen?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Raddick? Scott?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
And Luke, you're doing a great job, but you don't have to read Keith once he's not here. You don't have to read him anymore.
Thank you.
We do like the rotation though, don't we?
Well, no, you keep the rotation, you just can leave Keith out.
Okay, now we're back on to page 2 of our agenda, and item 8, annual park improvements, project 459180. It is brought back to discuss moving up the Leeds Park work into FY17 on page 251.
251?
Page 251.
Park.
And the Leeds work is in the FY18 work plan.
Is that the 57?
It's basically 2,500 for zone fall material and 6,000 for standalone play equipment, because they've kind of put it in Sertoma and in Leeds.
Where are you replacing the ADP pavers at?
Anderson Dance Pavilion.
And are we replacing them with pavers again?
Stamped concrete.
Colored? It doesn't last very good either, the way we do it around here, but
Good
Kelly
evening,
can
Mayor,
probably speak
Council,
more, but they
Kelly
make a
Bach.
tinted product now that's,
say what?
Of course.
you can buy a product now that's pigmented all the way through, so.
Well, yeah, they mix pigment in the truck when they go out, but
We have
but the
somewhere
problem
almost
is
painted
it
on.
doesn't necessarily stand up. Like my office in Morningside, that Paul Stinsland convinced me to spend $5,000 extra on the front of mine, and like all the rest of us did out there. It doesn't stand up to salt is the problem. Are you gonna groove it or just color it?
And when you have sidewalk trail like this, you also can put a protective coating on it, similar to what we did down at the Columbarium and the chapel in Graceland. That improves your permeability and doesn't allow for salt to permeate, like the roadway ones you've been talking about.
So the 48,000 today is pretty much for the Anderson Dance Pavilion, which desperately needs it.
Some of the cash balance, and then I'm asking for the additional funding, so it's a little over 100,000 to do the paver replacement with the stamped product at Anderson Dance Pavilion. We're talking about moving up money. There was $12,000 slated for new equipment between Sertoma and Leeds. We can see what products are available, and maybe one gets a little bit more than the other. If that's your recommendation that we move it up, that could happen this year yet. It would be small standalone items. There's some new items, climbers that stand alone. We all lost merry-go-rounds because of the safety factors of the old ones weren't safe anymore. They've come out with new ones that are. We do not have a merry-go-round in our Sioux City Parks system inventory. So that'd be something that you could add relatively inexpensive, about $2,400 to $2,800 for one that holds up to 10 kids. Now, they don't get going as fast as the ones we all grew up with elementary school, where you pumped and the outside guy hit about 55 miles an hour, but they are a merry-go-round. So we can look at items like that.
Where's this gonna be at? The merry-go-round?
That's an
Leeds
item
and
we
Cert-
can put in. I'm just
Oh,
throwing
okay.
out some ideas, you know, we can,
Leeds and Sertoma. I'll move that 12,000 to go into this year.
Where at in Leeds?
there,
Are we going to let the neighbors get involved in this too, or?
No, they already have. They want it in their existing park on 41st and Central.
Okay,
That was the plan, to kind of take care of the splash pad and this item all at once.
okay.
And maybe,
Good.
you know, master plan their park a little bit and budget for the future.
I didn't know if we'd be putting in something before we had the
No, we want to
splash
get
pad
public,
arranged.
we want to know what they want.
Okay,
Yeah, they want it in their existing park.
Yeah, but what do they want is the question.
Right, yeah.
yep, okay.
Well, I have a motion by Scott, a second by Moore. Discussion?
Greckin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Capron.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item number 9, it is New Signal Gordon Drive Development, Project 139018, page 288 in the CIP, page 11 in the reports.
Mayor and Council, Rick Mock, Interim Public Works Director. Council asks about the ability to assess the other abutting property owners prior to the construction of school. This intersection did not warrant any traffic signals. With the addition of the school, it now does. It was the initial position of staff to assess on a 50% city, 50% with the school. There is not an agreement with them at this time. The council questioned whether we could assess others. We worked with legal, and yes, because it is a public improvement, it does fall in the category of being accessible. Staff would ask for more direction from council if that was the route that we chose to pursue, because there are several parcels that are built on and impacted by the signal added here, and then there are a couple of open lots that could be improved in the future if we went the assessment route, because it would make those lots more attractive.
Well, I don't really much care about the school. That thing needed a stoplight to get out of there at Christmas time. I can't believe we don't have more accidents out there than what we do, but you can assess, but you're still going to be limited to the assessments, still going to be limited to the value of the real estate. So even if it's bare ground, the assessment's going to be valuation.
Correct. But we could approach the property owners on voluntary, and then if that does not work, it could come back as an
Last time I
assessment.
checked, John Menard really doesn't do anything voluntarily. I think you're going to have to send him a note, I'm guessing, to say you're going to have an assessment, because I suspect that he's not interested. He's not going to sell anything more or less. I think he would. It could make a big difference. Well, I don't think we should be afraid to assess that. Perkins would be positively impacted by a stoplight. Baumgart's would be positively impacted. The United Rental, all of them would be positively impacted. So I would not be afraid to do the assessment based upon what you have, $250,000, and figure it out.
Okay.
Could I have a motion to change the private contribution to an assessment?
I'll move that.
Second?
The public or the private?
The private money is what we have in the book, but we're going to switch it to a special assessment.
Still be private money, but it'll be an assessment rather.
Right, it's just changing the revenue sources.
Okay.
Moore,
Aye.
Raddick, Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Greckin.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Rick, can I ask a quick question, though, regarding the traffic study? It says, your memo says DOT has reviewed and approved the traffic study, confirming. What's the criteria for the traffic study? Do they look at volume of traffic? Do they look at traffic accidents? Do they?
Yeah, they look at, I think there's 8 different criteria they looked at. They look at volumes, traffic history, if the signal can improve, if, going from a broadside accident to a rear end, that's less, impactful, so they'll look at those as well. But yeah, they do look at the volumes, how much turning volume is impacted, delayed, so the traffic trying to get out, like the mayor said, trying to get out of there in Christmas time.
Absolutely. Anytime for Menards, almost. But they're in agreement that the signal is warranted.
Yes.
Thank you.
They are in agreement? I'm reading that they're,
Yeah, the DOT had to approve the signals for us to move forward. So they approved the study which recommended the signal.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, that is a news flash, because for years they said it wasn't warranted.
correct.
Yeah, that's good.
So Rick, you're gonna put together some property owners, or you're gonna tackle that as a property
Yes, we
owner?
will.
As soon as they figure out how to assess.
Money, I know how to get it.
Well, Menards is a Wisconsin company, so I can push
Why
them.
don't you just call John then, Rick, and see how that works out for you? The largest sub-S corporation in the world, but I still don't believe he wants to voluntarily pay for it, so.
Moving on. Item number 10, it is annual unspecified water distribution system improvements, project 519164 on page 302, and the report is on page 11 also.
At the presentations, council question, the auto flushers put in years 17 through 21, and in discussion, staff does not have the intent of just automatically installing these, but we would do them on a case-by-case warranted basis. We do have several that work well in the system and have reduced the water quality concern complaints we have on those long dead ends. So it is staff's intent to purchase the 10 if council approves in this 17 requesting, and then not ask for additional funding. And as we use them, we'll add that into the operational budget in the future, if we need them.
Amen. I'll make that motion.
I'll
Thank you.
second it.
So the motion is to remove 50,000 from FY 18, FY 19, FY 20, and FY 21.
Correct. And the auto flushers.
Scott?
Aye.
Capron?
Aye.
Gregson?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item number 11, Ziegler Drainage Areaway, 549016. Project is on page 350 of the CIP, and there's a report on page 13.
Why did we want it brought back? Wondering why we're doing it, I suppose.
Obligation to do the project, whether it was our responsibility, but I believe the development agreement does call for us to do this.
You and I weren't here, so they can't. Well, there's not much you can do if you got a.
We do have an obligation to do this.
You need any action on this one then?
No, if we don't need action, it was just if you wanted to have discussion. If there's no discussion, we can move on to the next item, which we've already had the discussion on the next item. It's item 12. It's the box culvert on South St. Aubin. And I would ask for a motion, $850,000 up into FY17, and to use sponsored project funds for the funding source.
I'll move that.
Second.
Scott?
I didn't do the rotation. Really, I would have had you at the very end.
Oops, innocent.
Well, I can't pick on the neighbors because of your vote on the comprehensive plan, Mr. Moore, so I'll vote aye.
Thank you, Mayor.
Capron?
Aye.
Gregson?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item number 13, downtown two-way flow improvements, CIP project 719018 on page 392. Discussion on the timing and scope of the project.
I'll move it just to get rid of the page.
Well, I do have a question on that, though. I brought this up at one of our meetings. I do think we need to do something with Douglas Street for sure. And then look at 5th and 6th, but I do think Douglas Street needs our attention to go to a two-way. And that's, I always thought that. I kind of left Douglas out of my discussion about just having any reservations about Fifth and Sixth. My reservations there are the cost, Glenn, of what it would cost to do two-way.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'd like to know what it's going to cost to do Douglas as well, but I thought Douglas was kind of a foregone conclusion that we would go two-way. I'd like to at least keep that in.
What are the advantages to going two-way on Douglas? Can you give me a few?
Well, it's really a matter of circulation, trying to get somewhere faster. That'd be the greatest benefit. Really wouldn't be any change to any of the infrastructure that's out there other than the signals, making modifications to allow that. And really I think it's a precursor to see how the public will react to that before we jump into Fifth and Sixth.
We've got part of it's two-way. That's what I bought into. Part of it's two-way. Why?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, right now, as someone who drives that, it's extremely disjointed. You've got, what, 2 blocks of two-way, then it's back to one-way?
yeah, but it's just those 2 blocks.
But
The
you
300 and 400 blocks of Douglas.
even early in the morning, you get a lot of people going the wrong way down the one-way between Fifth and Sixth.
I agree. Well, I think people go down from Sixth and Douglas the wrong way a lot of times, but I'd put it back to one way, but I'm not sure what that did for us, those 2
Between Third and
blocks.
Fourth?
Yes.
I believe that was part of the development agreement with Hard Rock, was to create a two-way between those 2 blocks. And that's why it became two-way.
And that was because they thought that might attract more
Yeah, it would
cars
help,
and
it would help,
business.
it would help with traffic going to and from Hard Rock.
Would you eliminate parking on, I'm trying to recall, I think the only part of Douglas up to 18th Street that you can only park on one side is the 16 and 1700 blocks?
Yep.
Is that right? And would you have parking only on one side? Or would you still have parking on both sides if you went two-way and?
You're stretching my memory here. So
Yeah, I can't.
Can't have parking on, the street's not wide enough to have parking.
No, I agree. That's why I'm wondering if you're going to cut off one side, because
They
especially
already cut
during,
off one side, there isn't parking on the east side.
only in the 16 and 1700 blocks.
Well, that's the only place you'd lose it now. It's wide enough everywhere else to be 2-lane and keep the parking.
On both sides of the street?
Well, you got 2 lanes going up there and you've got parking on both sides in front of Heelan, in front of the Evangelical Church. You got it in front of St. Thomas and the old Casa del Rey. It's two-way, it's 2 sides parking there.
Would it be more challenging with snow removal, parking on both sides of the street?
Once you ask the snow removal guys how challenging it is now with one-way where people don't ever move their car.
Well, I think that,
Am I right, Mr. DeHardy?
I don't think it makes much difference on what side of the street they're on if they're not going to move it.
Well, it doesn't make any difference because we've never figured out how to declare a snow emergency and make them move them either, so. But you can't, it will not change.
How far north are we going, though? I didn't think are we taking it all the way through?
Well, I don't have any idea. I'm not voting for any of it now. I've lost interest in this deal, so.
Yeah, we're
I can
going
understand
into,
if there's no
8
parking on one side of the
18th all
street
way
to push
up.
it, but how would it?
218?
No emergency.
Or 14th.
That's a cluster.
No, you're going to 18th.
You have to go to 18.
That's all the way.
800 and 900 blocks, 10.
Well, I would think you're going to 18th, aren't you?
Yeah, all the
Why
way.
would, yeah, well, you'd have to. If you're going to 14th, you have to go to 18th, yeah.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
We do?
That motion's just to delete the project.
Delete the project.
To delete the project.
Who made the motion?
The
I
mayor.
did.
I'm not convinced it's the right thing to do, so I'd second the motion.
Capron?
Aye.
Greckin?
No. Oh, wait a minute, this
This
is
is
to
to delete.
delete. Aye.
Moore?
No?
Scott?
I,
Motion passes 3-1.
Item number 14, annual infrastructure reconstruction, 719133. Project is on page 408 in the CIP, and there is a report on page 11. Actually, it's page 12.
I will remind you, Pete, that, and this is a tragedy if you remember, is that when people are trying to avoid the police, they sometimes forget Douglas is a two-way street.
When they do what again?
When they're trying to run from the police, and we had a horrible tragedy because of that, if you remember.
I do.
So,
I do. Well, the only argument for it that I heard was that it would allow people to get to where they're going faster, and that scares the heck out of me.
You're talking about Douglas.
Yep. There was an accident at 14th and Douglas, and police, not initiated by the Sioux City Police, but were chasing a car southbound on Douglas, wrong way, and hit a car that entered into the intersection. And
Woman policeman got hurt.
it was a lady who was a nurse at Mercy, and the impact knocked her out of the car, and her own car ran over her. So
what are we using fund balances for most of this? Is that what you,
That is correct.
so we don't need to borrow?
We're not borrowing as much this in 17.
Okay.
And if there's no other discussion, we can keep moving. Item number 15, alternate power source water on page 474 of the CIP, and there's a report on page 16. The discussion centered around the generator.
Lost interest in that too.
what do we do with 14? Did we vote on 14?
No, we didn't have
Just
to.
keep buying those generators we run every month just to turn them on, but never really ever use them. Let's just keep buying them at 50 to 100,000 a piece. Anybody want to talk about that one, or should we move on?
Hold on. Item number 16, sanitary sewer master plan on page 512. There is a report on page 118, or a report on page 18. Is that myself?
Have you talked to the sister cities so they know what's going on?
Yes, sir, Mayor. You have a council memo you'll see next week on that.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that you've.
Yes, we've negotiated with all of them, and I think everybody's satisfied with what we're doing.
What page is the actual thing on?
512 is the page.
So you moved
CIP.
And on this one, we would need a motion to take the amounts recommended in the memo and reflect those into the CIP book.
If you notice, Mayor and Council, Mark Sims, Utility Director, we slightly shifted things a little bit to make this a 3-year study rather than a 2-year study, just to spread the funds out a little bit, and feel that that still doesn't impact our most immediate priorities or concerns.
But it's not going to be a 3 contractor study. You're going to do one and
Single contractor, and actually it's 3 studies. It's a digestion complex, the SCADA system, and
Well, it could be 3
the facility altogether. Be one study by one engineer that would be, rather than several different studies.
Okay, so it is going to be one study by one engineer, just phased. He'll be working, or
Yes, sir.
they'll be working over 3 years.
That's the plan.
So I'll move the 325,000 in FY 17, 225,000 in FY 18, 150,000 in FY 19.
Second.
Rickon,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott,
No.
Capron?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1.
We have talked about items 17 and 18. With that, we have concluded all the CIP discussions, and now we will move into operating if there is no other discussions that anybody wants to talk about in capital. The first items 19 through items 19 through 29 are the improvement requests that were added into the proposed operating budget. If there's no call for a vote on an item, we'll just either have discussion or just, I'll read the item and just move on to the next. Item number 19 is increasing the part-time wages for a total cost to the city of $203,737.
Do we know what those increases will be?
Aren't they the equivalent of $1 an hour?
It's $1
Dollar
an
an
hour.
hour?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 20 is the addition of a .72 FTE part-time custodian. Item 21, changing a 1 FTE part-time motor coach operator to a 1 FTE full-time motor coach operator. Item 22, adding 1 FTE full-time refrigeration engineer. Item 23, changing the human rights secretary to an administrative secretary. There is a report on page 22 from the human resources director.
And to point out, there's no financial impact. The person currently in that position is within the range of the administrative secretary position. To summarize the memo, it's in large part to reflect the duties and comparable duties that other administrative secretaries have.
So do we have administrative secretaries in every department?
Yes.
Now, wait a minute, go slow there. You have them every department.
There are 3 classifications of secretary. There's union secretary, which was the secretary position. There's an administrative secretary position, and then there's an administrative assistant position, which is the highest of the 3. As administrative assistant positions have retired or left, in large part, they've been replaced with administrative secretary positions. So I do have to correct myself. Not every department has an administrative secretary. However, they do have either an administrative assistant or an administrative secretary. Using the city manager's office as an example, Sandy is an administrative assistant. However, in economic development, Lisa is an administrative secretary.
I have one of each. Finance has one of each.
With us, because you're in control of the budget.
I take care of
We all know
myself.
how that works.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, is this in effect they say Karen put reclassification, but it's a promotion?
It's not a promotion. It's moving it from a union secretary position to an administrative confidential secretary position.
She's at the very low end of the administrative secretary pay range and within the mid-range of her secretary position. And so the ranges overlap so much that for 17, there's no impact whatsoever.
But is she even actually union, because she's not full-time?
No, she's not union.
But she gets the pay scale of the union reps.
So will the secretary position be,
It will be deleted from the FTE complement, and it would be then a new administrative secretary position. This position years ago was an administrative secretary, and through budget reductions was downgraded to a secretary.
You had a lot of administrative secretaries back in those days.
Yes,
Is there a ceiling on how much you can make them?
there is a
Yeah.
pay scale, yes.
that's on page 22 there, the last paragraph.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that.
And I'm guessing the secretary in human rights now is fine with this?
Yes, as far as we know, yes.
Probably would be if she's not a member of the union, I guess.
Oh, yeah, she's in favor of this.
Okay.
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 Do we need to vote on that?
No,
I'm
it's
yeah.
in there if we,
Okay, but I have a question. We're in the middle of a vote for union representation. And so you had to take these employees and say, had come to an agreement of who the voters are,
correct.
okay? So where was this position?
It's,
with
it's a
your-
part-time position, so I don't believe it was subject to the unionization. I think it's like a .73 FTE.
Well, I think some of your transit drivers, even though they're part-time, belong to the union, don't they?
Transit union, they do, I believe, yes. But I don't believe ASME includes the part-timers.
Yeah.
It does?
We include part.
Do
Okay,
you include part-timers?
so,
Okay, Karen Mackey, Human Rights Director. It was my secretary and my understanding, reading the documents, that she was exempt.
because of confidential.
Yes, because she does deal with confidential issues.
That may be yours and hers, but I want to know what the HR and Hardy agreed to.
That's PERB's decision.
Yeah.
Right, but you
And the
guys at
PERB
least were trying to come to some sort of an agreement ahead of time on the ones that you agreed to, right?
And the PERB decision did not indicate that she was going to be a part of that new union group.
You already got the PERB decision?
Yes, we've agreed to our positions.
And you agree she's not in part of it, Chris?
I don't know about.
Mayor, I'm trying to pull up the listing of those that were in the union and those that were
Well, you have to be
excluded.
terribly careful when you're in the middle of a union deal, changing classifications. I don't want to get into a,
When's that vote over?
it doesn't matter when the vote
The
is.
vote
You-
is right, it's going on right now.
You can't change positions when you're in the middle of it. You cannot do that, is all I'm saying, and I don't want to,
I can't remember if PERB, and I don't think that was in the PERB's decision for secretaries, because that wasn't out at the time, if I remember right.
We could table this and bring this back during the public hearing on March 7th and get more information. Because I think this is one we're going to need to consult with Jim Hanks on.
well, I don't, yeah, I mean, I don't really care if you table it, if you know the answer. You just have, even if she agrees, and he agrees, if it's in the PERB deal, you got to be careful what you do, that's all.
Why I would prefer that we check with our attorney.
You got it, Bob? I think we should, Karen,
Let's see.
just to be on the safe side.
I say I've got 'em up on our
Understandable.
wall over there if you want to.
Yeah.
I'll just have Trevor go get by the copy machine. I've got all that union
I've
listing stuff.
had to read the PERB documents quite a bit because my spouse is a member now. She's affected by that, so yes, I've read it all, and I know my secretary position isn't, but I understand what you're saying, and if you want to check that out, totally understandable.
Bob,
Because what
we're
the mayor's
grabbing it
saying
off
is
the
right,
wall.
you know.
Human rights secretary position isn't listed in this for one reason. It's current union. It refers to numerous administrative secretaries that are the secretary to the director. So I would interpret that to mean this position, if converted to administrative secretary, since it reports to the director, would be excluded. Which, based on that, I would maybe recommend postponing this until
Understandable.
you, Mayor, I'd recommend postponing this until the union,
We do have a
Is
couple
determined.
administrative secretaries that can't be part of it.
yeah, and there are some that can be.
Yeah.
What I'm just saying is where they've excluded them, it always puts in parentheses because it's the secretary to the director.
Yeah.
And that would be the case here. So I'd recommend deferring action on this until it can be reviewed.
We'll bring it back on March 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Not in there, so.
You could
Verify to make sure that we're safe. Okay. Item number 24, downtown library security. There is a report on page 23. This was something that came up through the operating hearings, and I think we've come up with a workable solution. This is not in the budget, so it would need a vote to be added, if you so desire.
What's the library board's position?
Betsy Thompson, Library Director. We actually did have the opportunity to talk about this at the library board meeting yesterday. And we feel that if we want to put money towards additional security at the library, that we want this option. We are very committed to maintaining a safe, welcoming place for everyone, and it is a challenge. With new library staff, it's been especially challenging, but I think we're working through that. So, and because the incidents are so random and so whenever, it would be really hard to schedule when we need security. We have excellent cooperation from our police department. I am confident that our staff are getting more confident on dealing with the non-threatening situations as they arise, and our police are very responsive when we do need emergency help. So I'm not, we either need to make a big commitment to it or let us continue to meet the challenge the way we are.
You think you're okay without it?
The library board and I reached that consensus yesterday. I think you could probably talk to individual library staff members who would say no.
So, okay, so I mean, if we do it, this would be for preventative, not for, I mean, just having to show us one security person walking around, I'm assuming, is that what you're looking at? Or would have been interested?
Yeah. We're gonna hire police officers off duty.
Oh. Yeah, and, So I think we are confident that we can meet the challenge without this and so take good care of our police department because they are very responsive and very helpful when we need them.
I don't represent the library, but I got a coworker who's got a family member who works there, and several library people have expressed concerns to me about it. They don't want to say nothing because they're afraid to speak up, and they know
Concerns about
their safety.
Oh, okay.
They've had several instances, and the police respond greatly but if something happens right there and then, they're afraid for their safety. And
what kind of concerns? Like
ants coming in there.
Alien?
There's been several. One guy, I was told, made a threat of coming back and bombing the place. Another guy, I was told, was going to come back and stab somebody. So that's their concerns.
Okay.
I don't want to go against the board either, Betsy, but I'm concerned.
Would you like to make a motion?
When I was just asking the mayor if the 4 hours
They don't
per
want the
day would
police, or
be,
they do?
I mean, if you could cut back on that, but I guess not, because you're open, how many hours per day?
Well, we're open 61 hours a week. And that,
This would be 24 hours. 4 hours per day, 6 days, so 24 of the 61.
and that was the amount that was raised during the budget hearing. And so it isn't going to cover every incident that might come.
But the winter time's worse, isn't it?
Yeah. 5 years ago, I would have said yes.
Not now?
Last summer, I don't know as we really felt like it lessened.
Betsy, did you say the library board is or is not in favor of the police providing the security?
If we want to put money towards additional security, we feel it needs to be at this level, at the police.
With the
police
police.
officers, security, So they're very well trained. They handle situations in a professional manner. This amount is really not going to cover all 61 hours. So staff are still going to have to be trained and have to deal with.
And the sheriff's policy.
And so we are comfortable, the board and I are comfortable with that. And I'm very aware of the situations that he brought up, that there are some staff members who are not. But it would take, to really address it properly, it would take 3 times this amount of money.
But I should ask if you do, you have an idea of what time of day or evening those random issues may arise, or is it just really hit and miss?
It's really hit and miss.
I mean, I would like to see it just to see if it makes a difference with your staff and makes a difference with the operation of the library, so.
Yeah. And that's what we're proposing, that we would, work on schedules and really assess if it does make a difference. But.
So I would like to make a motion. How should I word this, Donna, that we budget, should I use the $46,176 for the security at the Wilbur Alf's main library?
I have a question before anything here. So what time do you open and close?
Monday through Wednesday, 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 9 to 5. And Sunday afternoons, 1 to 5.
They charge.
And we're looking at 4 hours a day, right?
But it could be
Yeah,
random.
although what we would do is we would really work at random, and I don't know, with the Police Officers Association, they said they could schedule 2-hour blocks. Maybe there's a way to schedule and, get an off-duty one to come an hour before he goes on duty, or I don't really know. But we would work with whatever amount of money you want to.
About an old retired cop for $25 an hour.
How about sheriff reserve for 10?
61 hours a week?
I can do it.
Hey, wait a minute. How about an old retired bartender?
How about sheriff reserves for 10?
They can't carry guns though, can they?
Yes, they can.
Well, some
They've
do.
been
I don't know
trained.
if most of them do over there not, do they?
We
Do they?
won't want guns.
They've
in
been
the
trained.
library.
They can carry.
But basically by putting the money in, then she can work out who she
Yes.
gets.
And you probably won't need a whole year to evaluate whether or not the program is successful. I mean, if you don't think it's working, you'll put a stop to it and look for something else, or,
But, yeah.
yeah.
You have to give it a chance, though.
See if it makes a difference.
Yeah, I'll second the motion. If you don't want an old retired cop, I guess.
Moore?
Sheriff, aye.
Scott?
No.
Capron?
Aye.
Gretchen?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1.
And I'm not voting no because of security. I'm voting no because that was never the plan I thought we were going to do, so.
I have a quick, this is probably too late for this, but for the library,
I can address the panic buttons. We have one at the Perry Creek Branch Library where we have minimal staffing. We do not have them at the downtown library.
why don't we?
They can put one in.
We can put one in.
I mean, that's not gonna cost $46,000.
No.
And if you're gonna call the police department, they're right next door. If you have a panic button, come on down.
You think we're gonna handle it like through cameras or something, or another security?
I thought we would expand the skywalk.
He
and have one
wanted
there for 14.
lower end people.
The library was not comfortable with the Skywalk patrol.
Okay.
And we do call on them and
Okay, what's next?
Item number 25, the addition of 2 police officers.
I'd like to defer this until Keith is back, because I know he wants to discuss this.
Okay, we'll bring it to March 7th.
I know there's 3 votes for it, but I think should.
How do you know that, Bob?
Oh, Rhonda, I just have the sneaking suspicion. I don't know, call it like, what do you call it, when you,
You had that gut feeling, is that?
Intuition.
yeah, not even, yeah.
Item number
We're gonna
20.
defer it till Keith gets back.
Okay. Item 26, the addition of
You don't have to leave, though.
102,000 to fund a shortfall in the sewer truck. Item 27, the addition of an AEO1 in the street maintenance department.
What's that mean now exactly?
Operator.
Operating equipment operator 1, it gives them an additional body.
No, I know, but I mean, to do what?
To run trucks.
Kelly or Ed, Rick?
Just a brief, very brief explanation.
Rick Mock, Interim Public Works Director. With the increased streets we're getting, the increase in potholes, staff is having a difficult time keeping up, and an added equipment operator would be of an assistance with that. And with the AEO designation, they are flexible to use also to assist with utility issues in off hours.
Okay. Thank you. That answers it. Thanks. Thanks, Ed. No, I'm back on number 25. I'm gonna save up for that one.
Item number 28 is additional operating budget for the wastewater treatment plant and utilities. There is a report listing the items on page 24.
We've discussed these numbers, haven't we?
There've been council memos and
Yeah.
discussion on these.
And the numbers on page 24 are the same as what we've seen before.
Yes.
Sure.
And why sludge disposal? Because,
I just need to have the appropriation in case he's spending it.
right, but it's because we're sending highly liquid stuff. I'd sooner spend $525,000 and fix the problem.
To dry them up.
Yeah.
The dewatering technologies that we looked at are about 2 million.
Yeah, well, that's a 4-year payback. Any businessman would make that tomorrow. Anything I can do that I pay back in 5 years, why would I not do it?
Mayor and council will be coming back shortly with with some options for you to consider that would reduce this cost considerably.
Then why are we budgeting it if we're gonna do it, but okay.
Because we started this.
I know. Why did I
August.
ask?
Item 29 is the network specialist for the IT department. Item number 30 is a discussion on increasing the salary of.
Minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bob Hine work for you?
John Malloy, IT, yes, Bob Hine does work for me,
I didn't get a chance to check all my emails, but I don't think I got one from him showing.
what I understood.
Well, that's how busy I was. You're sure I did, though.
I got one.
And it tells me everywhere we have it.
Yes, and it gives you strand count and fiber count, yes.
Because I've relied on you far too long to try to sell this stuff. I'm gonna have to do it on my own, John. I just cannot wait any longer. I'm an old man and I don't know how many years I have left.
I'm confident in you and John Myers and Jim Abshire to get this done, Mayor,
I
so.
think that's what I'm hiring as my team. Thank you very much. One more and I'll make a motion to cut this. Have a nice night.
Next item is item 30. It is to increase the council salaries. This item, if voted on tonight, does not take effect for the 17 budget. It must take effect after the next council election. So that the earliest it could go in would be January 1st of 18.
It'll be 18 years since the council members and mayor.
18 and a half.
17
had-
as of right now, so by the time it comes up, it'll be almost 19 years. It'll be 19 years.
19 years. So you want, the proposal is to increase the council members from $7,500 to 85?
That is correct.
So from $7,500 to $8,500?
No,
No,
No.
no, because that's what they did the last time.
we're
It's
at 85 right now.
It's
85 to
Oh.
13 and
10,000 to
nine.
15.
No, where are those numbers?
The first
Page
one is
25.
page 25. The first paragraph was the last time it was changed.
Oh, that's what we did in 2000,
Yes,
or that's what the council did in 2000.
right. So this time, the proposal would be to increase council member salaries from 8,500 to 13,000, to increase the mayor's salary
Oh,
from
okay.
10,000 to 15,000.
Okay,
And this council can vote on it because it does not affect you, as you won't be as a whole, the seated council. I did include the code section on the bottom half so you can understand why we would be doing it now versus those budgets.
but we need a motion for this.
That'd be correct,
I'll
because this
move
is
it.
not included.
Second.
so what percent, so that's that's since 19 years ago, by the time this goes into effect.
Right.
So
So
from
it's-
January 1, 2000 until January 1, 2018, it's $8,500
Right.
per year for council members and 10,000 for the mayor?
That's correct.
Okay, I read this wrong. Okay.
I do have a motion, a second. Any more discussion?
Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Crichton,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
Okay. Next is item 31. These are memos. If there's any discussion, otherwise I'll just read the memo. The first item is a report on the TIF growth of annual release on page 26.
Kind of makes a strong argument as to why TIF works.
We are doing a great job with our TIF. Item number
And
30.
our state legislators have this information?
I don't believe they've seen this lately. We try to keep them updated to show that we try to follow the TIF rules and do it right.
Has there been any discussion, do you know, in the legislature this year about TIF?
There's been a few things.
Few things, but nothing major yet.
Moving forward?
Right now, the basic discussion on TIF is to remove the ability to use it for city buildings.
They basically have already done that.
They have, but this would just make it even, out of the discussion.
Okay.
Item 32, report on transit contract revenue charged by department on page 27.
We've not had a rate increase in there since 2010,
That's correct.
right?
Yes. And I believe we are the highest, our fares?
Our rate is the highest in the state among the large urbans. Everybody, Des Moines is $1.75 and.
He has SciRide Ames has SciRide where they put it on the student pass and then we all pay for it. Which, don't even get me started on that. They've got the best bus system in the state.
It affects the
and
bus
we're all
replacement.
paying for it.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
You're not proposing
I'm not proposing an increase.
any, okay.
Item 33, report on center plate contract and professional services in the convention center budget. Report on page 28.
The projected center plate cost was $854, but you're asking for $893.
There are more things than just a center plate or professional fees.
Oh, okay.
There's stagehands and, I know people like that.
So how much is Center Plate's contract going up then?
So the first year that the
center plate contract actually took effect was for fiscal year 2015. That was the first full year. And that year, our professional fees was at $874,255. So in fiscal year 2017, we're asking for a budget of $893,000. Primarily that fee is made, or those fees are made up of center plate dollars. And that memo kind of spells out for you what those fees are made up of: fixed wages, variable wages, their work comp, taxes, their management fee, and incentive fee.
So they're saying their costs are 24%.
Wow. Part of it is we cover center plates, we pay for all the center plates labor that they have, then we also pay their their base management fee. Then they also have an incentive fee. So we cover all of their employee costs. There's no fixed amount for what those employee costs are going to be on an annual basis.
No, but there is a fixed cost on what the percentage of the benefit package. And do they provide benefits to their employees?
They provide benefits to their full-time employees, yes.
How many full-time do they have?
I would have to, I'm not 100%
Full-time
sure.
employees that work at the convention center.
For center plate?
For center plate, probably about 8, 10.
Yeah,
I can't have that many because the wages are only $255,000.
There are some, their variable wage, some of their employees are salary, that's what the fixed wages are, and some are hourly, which is what all the variable wages are.
And then, of course, they have a pretty large part-time staff that comes in to work events.
Right,
similar
that's
to what
my
we do
point.
at
They don't
Tyson.
have a lot of benefits for those employees, so I wonder how they get to.
Well, that's their benefits and also their taxes and work compensation.
Right, I understand, but think about what the work comp is. Work comp's not that expensive for their classification, and the employee taxes are, even if they have about 7% unemployment, you're only talking 16%. So the work comp's not $8 a hundred, I'm suspecting, but maybe it is.
That also includes their health insurance.
Yeah, which very few are covered on.
There's at least 10 that I believe would be covered.
And so when they do 1.2 million in catering, is that at the convention center and?
This is only for the convention center. Our assumption is what the revenue that they would be.
Why did we do that? Is that automatic 5 on everything, or do they have to hit a pop point?
Are you talking about their incentive fee?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have 3 different tiers. So before they hit $1.5 million in sales, they don't get any incentive. But once they hit $1.5 million, it's 6%.
Well, that's not what this is saying.
What happens is that tiered percentage, that takes into account all their buildings, the Tyson and the convention center. And that to get to their, in order to get to their tier, to get to their levels. So we do an estimate on what percentage we think it will be for all that revenue.
Many of their fees are allocated out to each individual building based on revenue generated.
They're being paid more money to do concessions, which they're already making money on what they're doing. So the more events you have at the convention center, I mean, at the Tyson, I don't have a problem paying them an incentive at the convention center. Once again, Lynn, I wasn't here when they did this contract, nor were you, so it's not our fault, I guess. But I don't understand why, because I mean, I'm not knocking, they do a great job, don't get me wrong, but why would we pay them based upon what they do at the Tyson when we're the ones that have to take all the risks to get people in the door?
He couldn't answer that.
Yeah, I know.
So how long's the contract?
It expires June 30th of 2017.
So who's to say we can't negotiate or
bid it out?
Or bid it out. And I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we should bid it out, start all over.
We'll be bringing something back.
I think it's always good to just take a fresh look at things and stay competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have gone through all of the items. We've gone through the technical changes. We'll give a minute for the mayor maybe to review them, and then we can talk of a motion to approve the technical changes.
There's no report on item 34.
There's
I'm
29
sorry.
different
There is,
categories.
I missed that. I'm sorry. There is a report on your desk that came in late. So there's a loose memo.
Oh, there is.
Yes,
What's that on, Dan?
on the LEDs.
Yeah, well, there's
American lighting fees.
a deal for Brad Howard, there's like 29 different rates.
Yes.
So how would you ever know if you're gonna save money, I guess? But
Yes, Mayor and Council, Rick Mock, Interim Public Works Director. Thank you for the opportunity to dig into this lighting.
Yeah, I made the
We
mistake
think
when you
the
weren't, I made
assessment-
the mistake when you weren't getting it to text Brad Howard, and then after 3 deals saying, well, I guess that isn't exactly right, and
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion that really that Mid-America has no idea what the rates are, and we're probably getting charged more than we should be.
Well, what we found out is that there's multitude of rates based upon the type of light that we're replacing and the size, whether it's high-pressure sodium, whether it's mercury vapor, then LED, whether it's on a wood pole, whether it's on a metal pole, whether it's decorative light or regular. So, yes, there are 29 pages of rates. We have decided in conversations with Mr. Howard and in communication with other communities that it would probably be the smartest idea for us to sit down with them and their staff and go through full inventory of what we're being billed for.
That would be a great idea. And when you do that, they just put a bunch of LEDs on Hamilton about north of Stone Park Boulevard, and one of them's already burnt out. Go ahead and have them fix that one right away. There's one's not working already. On Hamilton Boulevard, they replaced a bunch of them. They gotta be LEDs. They replaced them past the funeral home up there, going towards the new school, and one of them's already burnt out.
Okay.
So much for the bulbs lasting 20 years.
You need to stay home at night.
We weren't, what we were going for wasn't the same brand as Mid-America was using.
I know. No, I just am amazed that they have this many rates. How would you ever know if they're charging you right?
We don't. But we will find out. However, I would like to point out that this makes our assessment program look really clean cut.
Say, how many years you have left with the city, Rick? I don't think you will get it done before you're gone, but nice try.
Right.
Okay, so technical changes.
Technical changes, we have gone through them, but if you want, we can go real quickly through them again. These are items that as we went through the budget hearing, or we talked about what time the book was proposed, because there's a couple that we changed prior to you guys having discussion on them that we knew about, but the book was already in the print shop. These were what gave us to the start where we were down $4.62 on residents. That has moved up a little bit with the addition of the Leeds neighborhood and the playground equipment.
Donna, one thing, just, we would like a vote on the Miracle Field.
Yes.
You were approached at the last council meeting for financial support, and I think it would be good
Well,
to,
It isn't moving all the
For
technical
45.
changes.
I think if we could get a motion.
I'll make a motion.
But wait a minute, oh, you just, that's not right, because you moved, $345,000 out of Douglas Street. What was the funding for that? GO bond, so you actually reduced it tonight.
Yeah, you didn't pick that up.
No, I did. We also added the effect of the two-way flow, is 14% of the total, so it's 48,300 that it reduced, and that's on the debt service levy.
Oh, it's because they moved up that,
The library, which was the library of securities, 46,176, we added that to the general levy.
and you moved up the South St. Aubin deal.
Yeah,
And
but that's
the
sponsored
pool-
projects
the
though.
pools.
That'd be zero.
Oh, so then how, because you did those
Library's
pool
dollar
things.
for dollar, yeah.
As of right now, we're still at a decrease to the resident of $4.18. And a decreased tax levy from last year.
Why are you recommending Miracle Field be a separate vote?
Because it wasn't included in the original budget, it was a formal request. You could vote for it in a technical change, but I think it meets some of the operating or CIP additions that you voted on. I think just to keep it clean, that there's definite commitment from the council to participate.
And you're also gonna put the savings for whatever the fuel is.
Into
that's
a
factored
reserve.
in
We
there
talked
already
about
also.
that.
Did you tell the mayor what the mayor pro tem did?
Yes, he talked about your reserve.
I remembered that. Brought it up, pounded the table,
Demanded.
demanded that we have that.
Wow.
God, our mayor's
Did you
back.
proud?
Get a satellite dish on my car so I can watch that the next time.
You're starting to turn in just like the mayor.
Okay, so go ahead. Let's hear what you got.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Moore, did you do a motion?
I did a motion.
I'll second it.
For what's that, Miracle?
For the Miracle Field, you did a motion for that?
You make it?
No, well, I was going to, but I didn't know that. Go ahead. We're fine. I think you got a,
Okay.
Okay, so what we're voting on, it's 60,000 for this year.
Right, and his request was that money would be used for the splash pad.
Okay.
Capron,
Aye.
Gretkin,
aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Next, if we could have a motion directing staff to incorporate the technical changes into the CIP and the operating budget.
I'll move it.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
It's on page
57.
57.
Incorporate all the technical changes into the operating budget.
I need a second.
Second.
Oh, it's 45.
Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott.
I'm just looking at these. There are some that may not be used, but I suppose you have to budget for them. But there's quite a few in here that may not have to be used, right?
Right.
Aye.
Right.
Capron,
Aye. Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
Next is item 58. There's a caveat here. We're asking to balance the budget, but we will be bringing back the Human Rights Secretary and the Police Department for you to have a separate vote as we approve the budget. We would ask that our motion, or the heading on the agenda item will be approve the budget, but then we would ask you to do an amendment to add a vote for.
And actually,
police.
if we don't have a definitive answer on the Human Rights Secretary, since there's no financial impact, we could proceed without that.
Right,
Because you can approve
Yep.
a job classification change at any time.
right.
Well, I'd make the motion then that we direct staff to balance the budget, with the exception of two items, the HR secretary and the two police officers. That will be deferred to the Monday city council meeting, March 7th.
Second.
Moore,
We can't take that.
I don't know if
out.
we'll have I don't know if we'll have information back from the PERS yet by then.
I think it's appropriate as part of the budget approval. I mean, there's nothing to prevent somebody from coming back at the budget approval night, which is the formal hearing night, and making additional
Another,
changes.
okay.
So I think it's appropriate for the 7th.
Well, I'm gonna be adding a lot of stuff that night, so.
We're talking these two positions.
You're
I
not going to
know
be there
you're
that night?
taking notes, but
Out of the-
would that give us enough time though to have like on the police officers to actually have a discussion about it?
Sure. It'll be a discussion item on the normal council agenda on the 7th.
Okay,
I would hate to go past the 7th though, because
that's what I'm,
that gives us like a day. So the 7th is our drop dead date.
yeah.
But I know I won't have information from the Human Resources.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any difference because there's no effect on the budget.
Correct.
So you can leave that out because that has no bearing on the budget.
The police.
All you're doing is a job description because the money's the same for this year.
Right.
Administrative secretary.
So you can bring
Yeah, that could be.
You could bring that today.
That's irrelevant to the budget at this point.
The question would be then if you wanted to
For the
talk to police
police
officers
officers.
on Monday, we'd have to amend the agenda because it's already published.
Oh, that's right. No, that's okay. I'll vote aye. Thank you for answering.
Scott?
Aye.
Capron?
Aye.
Gregson?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Any discussion items?
Which is consistent.
But this may not ever happen.
We could-
I have none.
What's that?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That may never happen.
Exactly.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Second.
Would you get that to Dan?
Scott?
Aye.
Capron?
What's that? Which one?
Rhonda?
Capron?
Aye.
Oh,
Gregson?
aye.
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 This is the deal, we were gonna
Aye.
develop a policy of so much a lot, too. Remember that?
Is it that
He's
one from the land that was
No, that is the
This
intent
doesn't
of that
say-
project.